I analyzed 100 real retirement plans to find the required minimum distribution strategy that worked every time and the ones that quietly drained wealth. And what I found surprised me. Most RMD mistakes don't happen because people break the rules. They happen because retirees follow the rules, but in ways that create unnecessary taxes and limit flexibility later in life. That's exactly why I'm making this video, to show you the 5-step RMD framework that separated retirees who stayed in control from those who handed control to the IRS. Let's dive in. Here's the truth about RMDs that many retirees don't realize until it's too late. Required minimum distributions are not just a small tax inconvenience. They're an expense that gets more costly over time. Without proactive planning, they can push you into higher tax brackets, increase taxes on your Social Security, and even spike your Medicare premiums, all while forcing withdrawals that you may not need, and sometimes during market downturns. The maze begins at age 73 when the IRS forces you to begin taking distributions from pre-tax retirement accounts. Your first RMD is roughly 4% of your account balance, but that rate climbs every single year, jumping to over 7% in your 80s. And here's the kicker. While your RMD withdrawal percentage increases each year as you age, your portfolio can also continue to grow. Larger account balances combined with higher withdrawal rates mean one thing: a growing tax bill that accelerates as you age. While RMDs themselves won't cause you to run out of money, unmanaged RMDs can easily lead to overpaying the IRS by hundreds of thousands of dollars. And when I analyzed those 100 plans, that's exactly what I found. The retirees who struggled the most waited until age 73 to start planning. The ones who thrived started in their early 60s, long before the IRS got involved. That's the difference between control and reaction, and it starts with the first step in the 5-part framework that I'm sharing with you today. The first pattern I noticed in successful RMD plans was something I call backward planning. You see, most retirees plan forward. They document their goals, review their current situation, and then try to project and plan into the future. But the savviest retirees flip that script entirely. They choose a future age to begin their planning, like 75 or 80, and then they work backward to their current age. Here's an example of how this works. You would start by projecting what your RMDs will look like at age 73, 75, 80, and beyond, and calculate exactly how much the IRS will force you to withdraw. Then you layer in your other taxable income sources: Social Security, pensions, rental income, and dividends. This exercise helps you estimate your future taxable income and, in turn, your future tax brackets. And once you see those future tax brackets, you can identify the years between now and age 73 where you might have some income gaps and/or lower tax rates. These are commonly referred to as your gap years, and your gap years can provide tremendous tax planning opportunities. For example, let's say you just retired at age 62 with $1.5 million in a pre-tax IRA. You project that at age 73, your first RMD will be just over $100,000. Add in Social Security, a small pension, some dividends and interest, and suddenly you're looking at taxable income that easily pushes you into the 32% tax bracket. But right now, you're in your early 60s. Before Social Security and other income kicks in, you might only be in the 12% or 22% bracket. That gap is gold. It's your window to take proactive action to reduce your lifetime tax bill. And that's the benefit of backward planning. It gives you visibility, showing when your taxes will spike and when you'll have room to act. It's the foundation that every other strategy builds on, because once you know when your window of opportunity exists, you can focus on how to take advantage of it. And that leads us to the second pattern I noticed in successful plans: aggressive, front-loaded Roth conversions. Now, I know what you're thinking. Everyone talks about Roth conversions, but here's the truth. Timing and intensity matter just as much as the conversion itself. The retirees with the best outcomes weren't tiptoeing around Roth conversions. They were converting $50,000 to $100,000 or more per year during their gap years. Why so aggressive? Because the math was nearly undeniable. For example, let's say you're 65 with $1 million in your traditional IRA. If you simply let it sit and grow until RMDs kick in at age 73, that balance could grow to $1.5 or $2 million. And while that growth sounds great, it also means your required distributions and your tax bill will be higher as well. On the other hand, let's say instead that you convert $90,000 per year into a Roth IRA for 8 years while you're still in the 22% tax bracket. Those multi-year Roth conversions dramatically reduce your pre-tax account balance. And by the time RMDs kick in at age 73, your required distributions could be cut in half. Now, even if you expect your future tax rate to be the same as your current tax rate, here's the key question. Would you rather pay 22% on your $1 million nest egg today during your lower income years and control the outcome, or wait 8 years and pay that same 22% or more on a balance that's grown to $1.5 or $2 million? The retirees who front-loaded their Roth conversions made a conscious choice. They paid taxes on their terms at lower rates when it benefited them most, instead of letting the IRS decide when and how much to take. And there's another major benefit. Roth IRAs, they don't have RMDs. So not only are you shrinking future taxable withdrawals, you're also building a bucket of tax-free money that can keep growing for life, or be used strategically to manage your taxes in retirement. Now, to be clear, aggressive conversions are not right for everyone. Every situation is different. But in the 100 retirement plans that I analyzed, the ones that preserved the most after-tax wealth almost always included proactive, front-loaded Roth conversions during your gap years. And if you're watching this thinking, I need help with this exact type of planning, click the link below to schedule a free retirement strategy session. My team and I will review your numbers and show you how to lower taxes and strengthen your overall plan. But Roth conversions are just one phase of the tax planning journey. Once RMDs begin, a new challenge appears: managing your withdrawals in a way that keeps your effective tax rate low over time. That's where tax bracket alignment comes in. You see, most retirees assume that only taking the IRS mandated minimum is the smartest move. But as you'll see, that's not always the case. In fact, the savviest retirees don't typically just take what the IRS tells them to. When possible, they strategically withdraw more than the minimum to fill up favorable tax brackets. And by the way, what tax bracket is favorable to me may not be favorable to you, so be sure to crunch your own numbers. But let's use my friend Frank as a simple example. Frank is 75 years old, and his RMD this year is $60,000. After adding in Social Security and other taxable income sources, he's sitting comfortably in the 24% tax bracket, with about $50,000 of room before he jumps into the 32% tax bracket. Again, most people stop at the $60,000 forced RMD amount, but not Frank. He is considering taking an extra $50,000 to fill up his 24% bracket, which he has determined is a favorable rate to pay based on his backward planning and assumptions. And here's why this matters. By taking an extra $50,000 now, he's shrinking his IRA balance. That means, all else being equal, next year's RMD should be slightly smaller. Over time, this compounds, and it can help prevent higher future RMDs from colliding with other income and pushing him into higher tax brackets. While some speculation is involved, this move can also help him protect against a change in future tax brackets. For example, let's say Frank strongly believes that tax rates will be higher in the future than they are today due to the current state of the government's balance sheet. Well, if that's the case, that might motivate him even more to fill up today's potentially more favorable tax brackets through extra IRA withdrawals. Really quick, you do need to be mindful of how these additional IRA withdrawals affect your Medicare premiums, because if taking out more money from your IRA pushes your modified adjusted gross income, or MAGI, above the next threshold by even 1 penny, you could trigger Medicare surcharges, aka IRMA. And while IRMA likely won't put your plan in jeopardy, it's something you'll want to consider and make sure you plan around as you make these decisions to avoid a tax surprise. But in the RMD plans I reviewed, the retirees who implemented a tax bracket alignment strategy each year had more predictable tax bills and built-in protection against higher future tax rates. It's a subtle shift in strategy, but the long-term impact can be significant. And once your tax brackets are properly aligned, the next opportunity comes from coordinating those RMDs with your investment strategy. That's the fourth pattern I saw in the most successful plans: market timing and coordination. Now, I don't mean market timing in the prediction sense, but in the sense of being intentional about when you take your RMDs and which investments you sell to fund them. For example, the retirees with the strongest outcomes didn't just hold one or two broad-based index funds. Their portfolios had smart allocations to multiple asset classes: large caps and small caps, growth and value, US and international, short-term bonds, and long-term. That mix gave them flexibility. For example, if international stocks are up while US markets are down for the year, they would take more of their RMD from the international sleeve of their portfolio. In doing so, they sell what has gone up and hold what's gone temporarily down, and also maintain balance in their portfolio. Markets don't care about your RMD schedule, and without proper diversification, you may have to sell at the wrong time, potentially locking in losses and hurting long-term returns. And here's something else many retirees don't realize. If you have multiple IRAs, you do not have to take separate RMDs from each one. The IRS treats all of your IRAs as one combined pot. So if your total RMD is $50,000 spread across 3 accounts, you can take that entire $50,000 from whichever account makes the most sense. Maybe one IRA is heavy in high-tech growth stocks that have run up in value, and tapping that account for this year's RMD helps you to reduce concentration risk. Or maybe you're maintaining a tactical asset location strategy and drawing from specific accounts based on the current state of the markets, and your current tax picture helps to keep your plan intact. Just note, this rule only applies to IRAs. 401ks have their own rules, and each 401k must satisfy its own RMD separately. Lastly, when it comes to when to take your RMD, there's debate: early, late, or spread throughout the year. The textbook answer is to wait until year end, but the timing likely won't make or break your plan. More custodians are now requiring people to take their RMDs multiple weeks ahead of the 12/31 deadline to avoid bottlenecks at year end. And missing one of these triggers penalties. So if taking it earlier in the year or installments fits your budget or gives you peace of mind, do that. The best timing is the one that works for you. And that brings us to the final piece of the RMD optimization puzzle: what to do when giving is an important part of your long-term plan. The fifth and final part of this framework is charitable distribution integration. If you're philanthropic, qualified charitable distributions, or QCDs, can be a game changer. Starting at age 70 and a half, you can give up to $108,000 per year per person as of 2025 to qualified nonprofit organizations directly from your IRA. Here's why that matters. Those donations count toward your current year RMD, but they don't show up as taxable income. So you can meet some or all of your forced withdrawal requirement, avoid increasing your tax bill, and make a meaningful impact all at the same time. But wait, there's more. Starting in 2023, there's a one-time, lifetime election that allows you to make a QCD of up to $54,000 to a charitable remainder unitrust, or charitable remainder annuity trust, or charitable gift annuity. There are important nuances to consider, and these are not for everyone. But in short, funding one of these trusts can provide you with lifetime income while ultimately still benefiting the charity or charities of your choice. What separated the most successful RMD plans from the rest wasn't a single tactic. It was integration. The retirees who won the RMD game didn't just check boxes or follow the IRS playbook. They tied every decision, taxes, investments, income, charitable giving, right back to one unified plan that worked together over time. That's why the framework I shared today is not just about managing distributions. It's about creating a coordinated system, one that turns forced withdrawals into flexible, tax-efficient opportunities. At my firm, we built our total retirement system around that exact principle. It's a proven 4-step planning process designed to connect every part of your financial life, from tax planning and income distribution to legacy and investments, so that your plan adapts as your life evolves. When all 4 steps work together, RMDs stop being a burden and become just another part of a well-engineered strategy, one that keeps you in control, protects your wealth, and gives you confidence in every decision you make. If you'd like to see what it looks like in your own plan, click the link below to schedule a free retirement strategy session where my team and I will walk through your numbers, answer your biggest retirement questions, and show you how to optimize your retirement plan. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.